Welcome back. It's almost 9 o'clock, but we do have a very important discussion that needs to be had. It is with the director of Gun Free South Africa, and that, of course, is you, Adele. Kirsten, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Julie, and also hello to all your viewers and listeners.
Okay, I was quite blown away when I saw this interview that was scheduled, and I have mixed feelings about it. I kind of said to myself, not a moment too soon. But on the other hand, I also said to myself, but why? Why do we need structures such as these? Our children should and must be safe wherever they are out at play. So, what am I talking about? I'm talking about your new initiative, your newest initiative, and that is the new proposal for a bulletproof park in Mitchell's Plain. And this, of course, you go on to say, has hopeful merit against the backdrop of very tough reality, and we know what that reality is. It is about children being caught in the crossfire, going about innocently at play, and then they get caught in crossfire, and lots of innocent lives are being lost that way, particularly on the Cape Flats. That's not to say it's not happening in other parts of South Africa and possibly in other parts of the world as well. But we are talking South Africa and we are talking Mitchell's Plain. So this is really very bittersweet. I'll hand over to you to discuss how this has come about, and will this now be a future reality for the people on the Cape Flats?
Julie, thank you for that introduction. And it's almost like you've been inside our heads and in our meetings. Um, we've grappled with this. As you know, we've been working on reducing gun violence, reducing the risk for all of us of being shot and killed or injured. But over the last few years, and particularly over the last few months, there have been unprecedented levels of gun violence in communities like Mitchell's Plain, but across the Cape Flats. But we've seen it in Khayelitsha, in Nyanga, we see it in Alexandra, in Tembisa. It's across the country. And Gun Free South Africa has focused specifically on how do we safeguard children when they are at play. Because as you mentioned, this is a problem across the country, but it is a global problem. The data shows that children 12 years and under are disproportionately at risk for being shot and killed or injured in the crossfire. We get some of this data from Red Cross Children's Hospital, and we get some of this data from our national crime data. So in the last crime stats that were released for the last quarter of last year, 3 children are murdered every single day in this country. That's not all with guns, but that gives you a sense of the extent of the problem. But there's a very particular problem on children when they are playing. And so we've honed in on a particular problem and saying, what is the solution? This bulletproof park is, I mean, on one hand, it's a crazy idea. It's got extraordinary features to protect children, but it's a limited space. It can only take 24 children. And the question we're asking is this enough? So in one way, we know it's not enough. We've talked to people from the CPF, the Cape Flat Safety Forum. Everyone is grappling with it. We're talking to trauma doctors saying, is this the best possible solution? And we're really engaging with what are the solutions to keeping our children safe. We are busy we're still costing it. We're looking at a feasibility study, and hopefully within the next 10 days, we'll come up with a final report. But what this proposal has done, and I think the real purpose of putting this proposal on the table, and it's a real proposal, we're engaging with it seriously, because the issue of children being shot in the crossfire is a real problem. The question is this the best possible solution?
Okay. What is I have a picture up on the screen
Yes,
right now.
yes.
It looks, I must say it looks really good.
It is
But
lovely.
let's look at the feasibility regarding this park. Number one, you're saying it can accommodate or will accommodate or keep 24 children safe at any given time. And the question you also put is it enough? And then
Mm,
the costs. And if you're putting it up in, on the Cape Flats, will there
mm,
not be a demand for this type of a structure in other parts of the country? So we're talking huge, we're
mm,
talking funding,
mm,
massive amounts of
mm,
funding as compared to what? What is the alternative? What is the option?
yeah.
And I have a blank in my mind. There is no other alternative other than getting rid of all guns, legal and illegal, getting rid of them throughout the country. That too, we know, is not viable at all.
Well, you ask the question, and I guess that's the question we have to grapple with as a country. The cost, and this is an initial costing for one park, is just over 10 million.
Oh,
The cost, the burden, and this is from 2014. In 2014, we did a costing of all gunshot victims presenting at state hospitals across the country. And it cost something like 4 billion.
ooh,
And that was something like 4% of our health budget. So when you're looking at what is it going to cost us to reduce gun violence in the country, we have to match it with what is it currently costing us. And we're talking about that was 2014 figures. What is it going to cost us to actually get rid of guns in our streets? So you've put your finger on it. We know the solution is to reduce the circulation and availability of guns, because we've across the globe, but in this country as well, when you do that, your gun deaths reduce. People are
absolutely.
so frustrated in communities with high levels of gun violence. It's like protest action, it's memorials, it's flowers, it's candles. And someone like Lynn Phillips is saying, it's enough, we need some kind of action. So in a
Absolutely.
way, this is an outrageous, and it's a proposal, it's an idea, but it's an outrageous proposal for an outrageous problem, actually. 34 people are shot and killed in this country every single day, and no one, or very few people, are taking this seriously, are coming forward. This is a key function of our SAPs, and it's a constitutional obligation of our government to keep us safe. That is
Mm.
not happening right now. And so, as uh, civil society, as community leaders, we have to get together and say, what are the solutions? And already the conversation is saying, if this is not the solution, could we make gun free zone parks? What would that look like? So I think we're all grappling with what are the solutions. And in some ways, we know what the solutions are. But Julie, as you say, I mean, getting all guns off our street, that's a massive undertaking and it will cost money. But right now, gun violence is costing us billions of rands.
And of course, all the heartbreak and the heartache as well. Let's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
discount that. I think that overrides the billions of rands. Any parent would give away all of their material possessions if they've lost a child anyway, and particularly through gun violence, would trade all of their worldly possessions just to get back their child, to hold
yeah,
that child in their arms.
yeah.
Really a sad reality. When I picture that, it just breaks my heart.
Mm,
Are you
mm,
hopeful that something positive you may not get your bulletproof parks? I hope you do, but you may not. But what are you hoping for? What are you hoping
mm.
might come out of these type of conversations with government and other stakeholders?
Julie, I think we're also hoping that we don't have to build the park. In some ways, we don't want to build the park. But We are still consulting about what some of the pros and cons are. What are we hoping out of this? Some of that is already beginning to happen, is that there's a range of conversations happening, not just in Mitchell's Plain with community leaders and people involved in community safety, but people are beginning to come together to say, this is not the solution because it's limited. What about our kids going from home to school? So the one outcome we're hoping for is a series of really key solutions that are put on the table that everyone can get behind. So that's why we're talking to a number of stakeholders. Government has to be part of that solution. And that's the next step then, to say, what is SAPS? So to put pressure, not just on SAPS, to be part of keeping children safe, particularly when they're playing. But it has to be about going to the source, which means recovering and getting those guns, those illegal guns, out of circulation. And for Gunfree can do this as a civil societies put pressure, as can communities, on our SAPs, both at local station level and further upstream, to say, this has to be a priority of yours. So those are two of the outcomes. But the other that's happening is this discussion with you. People are talking about this. People are talking about the scourge of gun violence in our society. And we're hoping that this will galvanize people across the country to get behind the discussion on what are the solutions. And we know that one of the solutions is to reduce gun availability. And many of the parents and families we work with who have lost children, they are clear. They do not want other families to go through what they've gone through. So this is about preventing more deaths. And that's where we have to go. And we're hoping that this proposal will really make us as a country have these really important and serious discussions, and that we will find solutions.
Absolutely. Please, God, at least this is going to start, or has already started, the conversations in the right direction and get the relevant stakeholders on board. So, really, a pat to you, really. Thumbs up to you and your organization, Gun Free South Africa. Adele, all the very best. And keep these conversations alive. People need to be conscientized around these issues. So thank you indeed. God bless and all the very best with this initiative.
Thanks, Julie.
And that's it from me today on News and Views on Salam Media. Thank you indeed for being with us on the show. We've had some amazing people talking about amazing initiatives and issues that is plaguing not only South Africa, but issues all around the world. So thank you for being a part of the conversation. Thank you for watching and listening. Till tomorrow morning at the same time as always, go well, and assalamu alaikum from me, Julie Ali. And oh, not to forget the hardworking production team, Naz Naidu, the content producer, and of course the guy behind the controls, that is you, Abdus Salam. Till tomorrow, wassalam.